afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Cafe con Tampa Online. I'm Bill Carlson. Hand off to my colleague Della Costa, who's going to introduce our speakers.
Thank you, Bill. And I also want to thank everybody in the Cafe con Tampa world for tuning in this afternoon. Today we have two guest speakers, Linda Olson with Tampa Bay Wave and Diana Hechavarría, Associate Professor of Entrepreneurship at the Muma College of Business at USF. Why don't each one of you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your role either with Tampa Bay Wave or as an associate professor.
Linda,
why don't you go first?
Oh, Linda goes first? Okay, I'll take it. Sorry, I don't want to leave the airtime out there. So I'm Linda Olson. I'm actually founder and CEO of Tampa Bay Wave. We started as a very kind of grassroots organization, technically a meetup. Back in the summer of 2008, it was myself and a handful of other tech entrepreneurs who really just didn't have another organization to go to find each other, to share best practices, to find encouragement and other resources. But, you know, when we started talking year after year, it just seemed to be like, well, if we don't roll up our sleeves and become part of the solution to make Tampa Bay a more vibrant place for not just technology startups, but any type of entrepreneurial endeavor, you know, we weren't sure the change would happen in our lifetime. So we decided to become part of that change. In 2011, we became a full-fledged 501c3 nonprofit. And crazy enough, a year later, we actually landed a really large $1 million federal grant in partnership with USF in order for us to kind of launch the programs and services that a lot of people here know to be Tampa Bay Wave. So a lot of our programs and services are designed to help technology startups for the most part. Of course, technology is in everything, so I'm not sure that's quite an industry term anymore, but to give them the resources they need so they can grow and stay in Tampa Bay. They don't have to leave here, and hopefully reverse the brain drain and become a place where we actually attract more talent than we lose every year. So I'll hand it over to Maria. So or Diana, sorry.
That's my middle name, Diana Maria. And kind of building off what Linda was saying, so I'm an associate professor of entrepreneurship in the Muma College of Business, and my background is economic sociology. So I'm particularly interested in how social groups interact and outcomes from like social group interaction. And I became interested in studying entrepreneurship because I grew up in Miami and I thought everybody owned a business because I was Cuban and every Cuban owned a business. And it was only after growing up and realizing that that was a kind of ethnic enclave entrepreneurship, a very special kind of entrepreneurial culture, I became more interested in trying to study like why are some cities, why are some social groups more inclined to venture, right, or start a business. And that's kind of led me to where I am right now. I've been studying entrepreneurship for about 15 years, and I work very closely with Linda in the community, trying to understand what are some of the advantages that we have among other cities to promote entrepreneurship, what can we do better, and try to understand how we can help different kinds of social groups, right? Women, minorities, and particularly to have them be open to the idea of business ownership as a career path. So
I want to do a quick ad for Cafe con Tampa. If you're watching live, or even if you're not, please hit the share button and the like button so that your friends can see it. We do this as a service for the community so the community can get access to information. Also, if you have any questions, you can post them either underneath or to the right of the feed, depending on how you're watching it. Let me start with the doctor. She's given us permission to call her Diana, and Linda's given us permission to call her Linda, even though they have big titles and degrees and everything. So thank you all for that. But Diana, could you tell us what are some of the success factors of communities that have thriving entrepreneurship or a thriving entrepreneurial culture?
You know, that's a great question, and I wish it was a straightforward answer. The whole line of research studying kind of clusters and cities and what's been called entrepreneurial ecosystems, but really it focuses on like how do you create a culture and environment that promotes entrepreneurship. Some of the big takeaways that we've really focused on is this concept of knowledge spillover. So there's generally one major industry or one major institution that's facilitating innovation within a city. People try to think of like Silicon Valley as the exemplar, but I mean, you look at places like Austin, where there's a very thriving university that's helping push the culture for arts and innovation. The Research Triangle as well. I would argue that USF is an anchor institution here, kind of in the city of Tampa, along with UT, to kind of help spur innovation. But really, what you really need is like an established multinational. When you have an established multinational, there's just so much research and development going on within them. It kind of helps facilitate these spin-outs for smaller organizations. And also education has been found to be really important.
Linda, I'm sorry. I've got a question for you. First of all, for our audience out there, not everybody knows what Tampa Bay Wave is. So could you kind of explain where it is, where you're located, because you have a physical facility? And also for the people listening out there, let's say there's a young entrepreneurship mechanic who's got an idea, technologies and everything nowadays, but to enter the technical world, do you have to be a college graduate?
Good question, but I'll start with answering your first question. So yes, we do have a physical space in downtown Tampa. It's about 10,000 square feet. We're on the third story of a really old historic building that will have its 100-year anniversary next year. That's, you can see the brick wall behind me. I love the fact that we are so tied to Tampa Bay or Tampa's history, because I feel like I always like to say, I feel like entrepreneurship is in the Tampa Bay DNA, right? If you look at how Tampa Bay came about, there were some folks who took some big risk early on. Henry Plant, the Ybor cigar industry folks, right? You know, you look around at the Tampa Bay history and there's entrepreneurship everywhere. Anyways, we do, in addition to our physical space though, that houses a lot of startups that work out of here. For the vast majority of the programming that we offer to startups, it's done virtually. So we work with, consistently over 100 technology startups a year. Most of our companies go through one of our 90-day accelerator programs, but given the stage of the ecosystem that we have here in Tampa Bay, we've from the beginning wanted to make sure that we provided companies with more than just 3 months of support. So once they conclude a 90-day program with us, we continue to provide ongoing support. And a lot of that support is done with very experienced mentors in our mentor network, which is 100% volunteer. We've got over 100 very experienced volunteer mentors that have gone through a lot of vetting to make sure that they're in it for the right reason. They're here to build community and build great companies. We also provide access to investors, training on how to manage negotiations and due diligence with investors, not to mention a number of other kind of more tactical type of resources, access to lawyers, CPAs, things like that. So we're a little bit of trying to build that community of resources around these startups to give them the best chance of success here.
When we talk about the culture of the entrepreneurial culture in the community, in the old days in economic development, people said, well, if Tampa only had this or that, if we only had a performing arts center, and then we got it. If we only had a better museum, we got it. If we only had a children's museum, and if we only had sports teams. And then about 20 years ago, people said, well, if there was only an organization dedicated to technology, and now there's several, and then they would say, well, if we only had coffee shops or we only had Starbucks, what is it that, and then the same question about incubators and accelerators and access to capital. Is there anything that Tampa Bay is missing now, or is it just connecting the dots on what we have?
So we participated in something called Startup Genome in late 2018. So this is a research group. They research entrepreneurial ecosystems around the world, and it was really, I think, a great benchmarking exercise for the Tampa Bay region compared to other ones that are most of them are a lot further along. The one thing that struck me that came out of that was, first of all, if we, for all the momentum that we have, as you mentioned, there's a lot of other technology organizations and entrepreneurial support organizations. Certainly the talent coming out of USF is incredible. We've got incredibly ranked entrepreneurship programs. And so I think we have seen an increasing volume of startups, but frankly, if we really want to get out of the stage we're in and just even be in stage 2 of kind of like what they call like a 4-stage ecosystem life, milestones, we need to probably at least double, if not triple, the number of startups in this community. It's a volume issue. And this is why I'm really interested in this topic, because I'd love to see more people pursue their entrepreneurial dreams here. But the way we kind of address some of the volume issues, we have to have the resources for folks to be successful or believe they have a path to success, right? So it's a little bit of a chicken and egg. If we had greater startup volume, it would act as a greater center of gravity and would help the region attract and retain more talent, capital, and other things to survive or to succeed, right? And if we had that greater volume, we'd have certainly not just more jobs and high wage jobs in the region, but certainly we'd have a more resilient economy. But you kind of have to build this one brick at a time.
Let me ask Dr. Hechavarría this question. And this is getting back to, excuse me, that was my phone. I didn't turn it off. Entrepreneurship, it's not limited, and I'm going to kind of make it as a positive statement, to professionals, people with a college degree. How does a person with a technical background, an innovative person, enter the system to be able, let's say, again, going back to a mechanic who's got an idea, wants a development, technology is everywhere nowadays. So how do either one of you help that person, and how do they enter the workplace? They might invent something that could change the world.
What's interesting when you raise that point, people with just a high school degree or less than a high school degree are more likely to try to start a business than people with higher levels of education. The issue is that once they get involved in the process, they're less likely to come out with a business, right? Currently, we're doing some really great stuff around the university area, in the university mall with MROC Fab Lab to kind of create opportunities for underrepresented entrepreneurs, specifically those that might not have completed high school, or they haven't even, they have just a high school diploma. So we're training them kind of how to like do customer discovery and understand who your customer is, test out your business ideas before committing a lot of resources to it, because they may not have the background that we have taught some of the students about how to identify if there's a fit for the opportunity you're trying to exploit, and how to reach your customers and get some feedback from your customers. So those are some things that we're trying to do here locally in Tampa. I'm really excited to kind of see how this unravels. We have our first cohort now, and I'm a mentor in that program. There's a girl who's I think in high school, and she's like 15 years old. That's part of the first cohort. So, and it's exciting to me because I think when Bill was talking about how do we build a culture, culture is something that's like a tool for us. Most of us think of culture as something that's out there. Culture is really like a skill set or a tool set that you bring out. And I think it's more important that we focus on secondary education and really bringing these concepts to younger audiences, because I didn't even know, although I thought entrepreneurship was normalized because I saw everybody own a business. I didn't get any entrepreneurship training until I was a senior in college, right? So if you don't start exposing students to these concepts very young, they won't start pursuing that knowledge or developing that confidence and that self-efficacy around that this is something that I might be interested in pursuing. Because if you think about it, people that come from families that have family businesses are like 3 times as likely to try to start a business because of their family culture has ingrained that in them. If you come from a family that doesn't have business ownership, you don't really realize that until later in life.
So following on that and what Linda said a little while ago, we need to increase the volume of people that are starting businesses, or the number of new businesses or entrepreneurial ventures. Diana, what else would you recommend? You mentioned teaching kids younger or exposing them to it younger. What else would you recommend to try to increase that volume? What do we need to do as a community?
Well, I mean, I definitely think that the mainstream media helping normalize this content. Ironically, if you look all over the world and you look at different countries and the volume, the United States is pretty up there. And one of the reasons is that people aren't scared to fail here, and they see that it's an accepted career path compared to some other countries where the fear of failing is really high. Like if you look at countries in Europe, failing on a startup there has a stigma associated with it. So I think if we're thinking regionally within our own city, we need to kind of communicate to our, our constituents and our citizenry that, it's okay to fail. It's okay to try, and it's important to try, right?
There's an organization called STEMI, STEMIE. It actually got acquired by the Henry Ford Foundation. And they're actually starting to work with Hillsborough County Public Schools right now on a pilot program that is supposed to be pushed out later this year. What's interesting about this organization, the reason that it's STEMI and not just STEM, is they believe in the I and the E at the end of STEM, which is invention and entrepreneurship. And the whole idea is we push a lot of STEM education in the K through 12 schools, but unless you give them the opportunity to apply that in really interesting ways, you're not going to get a lot of that entrepreneurship type of culture coming out. And you, as you point out, Diana, you get too far down a path somewhere earlier in your career, and sometimes it's really hard to kind of go back, right? So they really believe in trying to help these kids develop these skills in the K through 12, which I think is super exciting. The other thing, I think the biggest opportunity for growth in the region here is really with the underrepresented founders. So some of the work that Diana was talking about, I think goes towards that. The numbers here in Tampa are just as bad as they are on kind of a national level, just in terms of, whether you're talking about, of course, I'm looking at it mostly more on a technology side. So bear with me, it may not pan out across everything, but like women tech entrepreneurs are highly underrepresented as a group. And it's not just women in technology. If you look at women in technology careers, women make up more than 30% of the technology workforce that's out there. Yet they tend to represent in the single digits when it comes to technology entrepreneurship, folks who are actually trying to become founders of these businesses. So, to Diana's point, I think we need to do a better job as a community here and, across the US, but really encouraging people to pursue their dreams, to pursue these ideas that they have, and also make sure that we have giving them optimum access to tools and resources so that they can know how to make the next step in that path.
Linda, let's say there's somebody out there that's working on an idea now and a concept, and maybe he's even started a small business. How would they come in contact with Tampa Bay Wave, and how could you help them or give them some guidance?
Well, I think it depends on where they are in the path. So, if you've got folks who, like, for the most part, and this, we tend to mostly work with folks who have already gotten something built and are starting to get a little bit of traction, and now really say, I've got some sort of proof of concept here, and now I'm really ready to make a business out of this and grow it and scale it. And that tends to be the companies that we work with. The folks who say, like, well, I've got a really good idea. How do I get from this point to a place where I'm ready for some of the programs that Wave has? To some extent, some of that's going to be maybe through some of the programs that USF offers, some of the programs that Diana referred to up around the university area. There's a lot of online education out there, which honestly is pretty good. There's also other groups around here that are doing things that are pretty interesting. There's a Jim Moran Institute, which has a location in Ybor now. They're based out of Florida State, but Jim Moran made a very large gift to Florida State several years ago so that they can operate these entrepreneurial type of programming around the state. We work with a lot of partners to try to make sure if somebody comes to us and if we're really not in a place that we can help them, that we can kind of try to plug them in with a group that can. The nice part is there's a lot more groups today, organizations, than in 2008 when we started Wave. So there's a lot more options for these
Thank you, Diana. I have another question based on something you said earlier. You mentioned kind of the confluence of arts and innovation. Could you talk about that for a minute, and also connect to USF? USF has excels at both of those areas. And so I wonder what influence or help USF might have in relation to those two.
Yeah, so right now, after our consolidation, one of the things we're trying to do is kind of create a way to kind of integrate entrepreneurship across different colleges. Historically, it's been something that's been kind of contained within the business school, right? So one of the things we're doing now is offering courses for non-business majors across all campuses on St. Pete, Sarasota, and the main campus. So if they want to get some exposure to entrepreneurship and they're not sure they want to start a business, at least they learn a little bit about what the lifestyle is and what the process is about starting a business and how they might want to engage. What's wonderful about USF is that we have so many different disciplines, and what's great is that we get all these different kinds of students in the classroom. And because we have that mix, we get some really great ideas. In my seminars, I've seen some really neat stuff, but the problem is that when you're a student, it's very difficult to kind of, and you even see this with like academic entrepreneurs, it's very difficult to kind of like leave the scholarly pursuit of that degree and pursue that business because there's like an opportunity cost. Like, what if this business fails and then now I don't get my degree, right? So it might be worth thinking about how we can incentivize having them try and maybe gain credit towards the degree in some way in the curriculum. So it kind of takes away some of that pressure of pursuing their startups.
I'm a kind of a junkie of how they built this, and I'm sure you all are familiar with it. And I might not be totally accurate, but it seems that many of the entrepreneurships that they interview get started by using their personal resources of their family and very close friends and their credit card. Is that the normal path toward entrepreneurship?
So
I see you shaking your head, so answer it.
Yeah, I call it the 3 F's: friends, family, and fools.
I like that.
But the majority of startup founders, I've worked on a project that's tracked really early stage founders for like over 6 years to understand what are the factors that affect them to actually start versus quit or kind of stay in this limbo stage. And by and large part, family and personal funds, like, I mean, there are people that are taking out student loans, taking out a second mortgage, you know, selling their car. Like the way they financed their ventures was super interesting to me, because we have this kind of, we're enamored with the idea of like venture capital and business angel capital, but the reality of it, of any one given year, of anyone starting in the United States, only 2% on average are getting business angel or venture capital investment, right? So we're like romanticizing this kind of investment when it's not really the reality of what most everyday businesses are doing to get up and running.
I'm going to remember that. Friends, family, and fools.
Hey, Linda, I know that Alex Sink has been involved in your organization in the past. I don't know if she still is, but one of the things she said to a group of investors a few years ago is she said, you know, it's the same write-off. It's the same write-off whether you invest in a nonprofit or if you invest in a startup. So if you lose everything in a startup, you still get a write-off. And so she said, why not invest in a startup? Because then you have the opportunity to, first of all, make it big as an investor, but you could also create jobs and have a maybe longer lasting impact in the community.
Yeah, I was going to bounce off of what Diana was saying, but it's along those lines, which is if there was, when you look at more robust entrepreneurial communities, there's more capital options, more choices. And when there are more choices of capital, meaning some very early stage, some later stage, but also some that are kind of focused on industry or some focused on maybe just women or people of color, like when there's a lot of different options, then I think you have a better chance of entrepreneurs finding some of that early capital, seed stage capital or investment capital that they need. We just don't have that much variety here. And so it's very limiting. I'm glad we have what we have, because again, it's better than it was 10, 12 years ago. But the way I like to try to tell folks is like, look, investing in a startup is really investing in your community. It's a high risk it's high risk, right? When you just look at the data, these are high risk investments. It's not like I'm trying to say if you don't have the wherewithal to do it, that you should put your money there, because that's probably not the right way to be spending your money if you don't have that kind of discretionary pool. But when you invest in startups, you're really investing in entrepreneurs, you're investing in the ecosystem. Some of those startups, maybe quite a few of them, are not going to be successful. But what you want to do is have a ecosystem where those transactions are happening, because when you have a robust ecosystem with a lot of transactions, that actually attracts more capital and talent into the community. Not to mention, most entrepreneurs are not wickedly successful their first time out. I try to use the baseball analogy a lot. Sometimes your best home run hitters are not the ones who hit home runs every time they go to bat, but you still keep them on the team and you still put them on the roster, because when they do hit a home run, that's good for all of us, right? So we need to make sure to foster that culture of failures. Is not only is it not something that you want to permanently assign to somebody if they, the entrepreneur, were not successful, but we shouldn't look at that investment as a failure. What we should look at is that investment was an investment in the ecosystem, and some of those investments will pay off, hopefully.
What would you like to see in our community that we don't have now?
Ooh, I like to see some great success stories with people of color and women and, all the other types of underrepresented entrepreneurs. So to the folks that you were mentioning, if you're a mechanic, if you've got if you're a hairdresser, I don't care what your background is. If you think you don't have the traditional background, but you have an idea that you can see a success story here locally, and maybe that inspires you, or maybe, I've got 2 kids that are 5 and 7. I want them to grow up in a community where they see local entrepreneurial heroes all the time, and it's normal for them. It's personal to me, right?
Right.
It's that's what I want.
And Diane, do you have a success story that you've seen emerge out of the USF area or Tampa Bay area?
I mean, there are several. It's hard. I joke that I'm like a stage mom. Like, so every time they go like to pitch their business, I'm the first one, like the front row cheering them on, right? So I'd be like favoring one over the other. But I actually, the success story I'd like to highlight is actually one of the things that I would like to see more in our community, and that's more collaboration across like institutions, right? And the one I want to talk about is Tempo Education, which was actually a startup both of UT students and USF students working together in like impact-oriented entrepreneurship, because they were trying to address the problem of education and literacy in Africa at the point where children would tend to drop out of school because it would start to help the family with farming, and it was a burden to kind of go to school, and they created a business model to address that. So for me, it's kind of like, like the triple threat kind of startup, because it's addressing kind of generating, it's a startup that's with economic returns, it's addressing a community and social problem that is very important for the world. So that's one of my favorites that I've had the pleasure of interacting with.
I should mention also that Diane, I'm sure, could tell story after story after story, but there have been a lot of exits in the last year or so. Commerce Quest, FinTech, a bunch of them anyway, and dozens and dozens of millionaires have been created because of them. And 2 of the companies, like FinTech and another one, they had interns from USF that helped build tremendous value. People think that the ideas for innovation come just from the medical area, but they're coming from all over at USF now. Unfortunately, we're out of time, so would love to talk to you all for an hour or more. But just to wrap up, are there any final thoughts that you'd like to mention about this topic? And also, do you want to mention any websites that people could go to for more information?
Well, I'll just mention, talking about collaboration, we're working with USF's WLP group, which is the Women in Leadership and Philanthropy, as well as Embark Collective. I'm probably going to miss a few, Synapse and others, but we're putting on an event October 22nd called In All. which is really to talk about how to build a stronger community of women entrepreneurs, as well as hopefully encourage more women investors in the community. And that's a virtual event, which will be listed on the Tampa Bay website. And that's coming up October 22nd. We also will be doing some other programming, but I just want to highlight that one event. Diana, do you want to talk about anything else?
Also our website, usf.edu/entrepreneurship. If you're interested in plugging in and connecting with the program to guest speak or wanting to kind of work with some of our students, see more about what we're doing at USF and the research we're completing and what we're doing in the community, I would love to kind of talk to you some more and help kind of integrate you into our programming.
Great, thank you. Thank you both very much. Like I said, we could talk forever. If for anybody watching, please hit the like button, the share button. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button also. Thanks so much to everybody for watching, and look forward to having further conversations with you all. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.